Didn't expect it to start so soon. Even though I was the one that pushed the button. Hello. I was just recording for a whole 10 minutes and was out of focus. Do you like my radiator? I'm in my kitchen. My setup is a ring light with a tripod on my kitchen table. So, it's Wednesday, but I missed my True Crime Tuesday post yesterday because I did my Supernatural Sunday video. So I'm getting back into the swing of things. I'm just gonna do a true crime post today, and I'm also gonna do a video at the same time, which is this one that you're seeing right now. So I just wanna do a really quick disclaimer that this video contains a lot of heavy themes like necrophilia, sexual assault, violence, things like that. So if you want to skip this video, feel free, you can come back next week. You know, I'll be doing this weekly from now on. If you are skipping this week's video, have a really good couple of days. I may see you on Sunday for Supernatural Sunday. This week for True Crime Tuesday, we're going to talk about the case of Elyse Pahler. I may be butchering her name, and I'm really sorry. I don't mean it. I'm going to butcher a lot of names in this because 1, I can't speak, and 2, I can't pronounce, and 3, I can't speak. You'll get used to it. I'm just going to jump straight into this one because it's a heavy one and it's haunting. Elyse Marie Pahler was born on the 24th of April 1980 to parents David and Lisanne Pahler. She was a relatively quiet girl, fairly normal, you know, she lived in a really small town in California called Arroyo. So in this small town, nothing really went on. It was quite a small population. It was slow living, you know, things didn't really happen. That was until July 22nd, 1995. Elyse had been invited out by a couple of her friends to go to a nearby eucalyptus patch. The 3 boys that she met up with were Jacob DeLashma, Royce Casey, and Joseph Fiorella. Sorry for butchering the names, I'm terrible. These 3 boys were known troublemakers. They were typical, angsty, angry young teens. They were also known for being very heavily into the heavy metal music, and they used to listen to a band called Slayer quite a lot. These boys, as I said, angsty, angry, young boys. But they started to gain a little bit of interest in Satanism and occult things. Elyse was invited out with these 3 boys. She was lured to a eucalyptus patch, as I've said before, with a promise of drugs, and they all met up. They started smoking and drinking for about an hour before the boys unleashed a horrific attack on Elyse. Jacob DeLashma started wrapping a belt around Elyse's neck while Joseph Fiorella began stabbing her. After this, each of the boys took it in turns to stab Elyse. None of Elyse's stab wounds were fatal. She began bleeding to death, and during this, she was calling out for her mum, and she was also praying to God for help. Hearing this, the boys decided to stomp on her neck. She fell silent and eventually succumbed to her injuries. The morning after, Elyse's parents noticed that she wasn't in the house and she hadn't returned home, so they phoned the police. The police began a search for Elyse, and nothing was found. Meanwhile, the boys would go back to the place where they hid Elyse's body. They kept her hidden for 8 months. During those 8 months, they would return to Elyse and sexually abuse her. So as I said, 8 months had passed, and Elyse, there was no sign of her. Royce Casey, at this point, had converted to Christianity, and he confessed to his pastor everything that had happened. The guilt and the fear of what had happened had just eaten him up inside, and he confessed. The police were notified, and all 3 boys were arrested. Royce Casey gave a lot of detail about what had happened, including where Elyse was. The worst part about this is that even though there was a search, Elyse was found not that far from her house. This made people question, naturally, just how thorough the search for Elyse actually was. So the boys were arrested and charged with the murder of Elyse Pahler. They admitted to it, so there wasn't a trial, but their motive was disturbing. So these three boys were in a band. They'd started a band together, they were doing, heavy metal music, and they called the band Hatred. So the reason that they murdered Elyse was because they thought that if they made the ultimate sacrifice to the devil, that he would give them amazing guitar skills and would make them crazy so that their band would grow and they would get big. The reason that they chose Elyse was because she had blonde hair, blue eyes, and was a virgin. They thought that that would please the devil the most, so that's what they did. And it wasn't the first time that they'd also tried to kill Elyse. No. This was the second time that they had tried. The first time that they had tried to kill Elyse, they had taken her to a steep ravine, and one of the boys held her while they gave a knife to another unknown teenager. This teenager was told to do it. He didn't. He was like a deer in headlights. The plan failed and Elyse got away with her life, but she didn't report this to the police. She thought that this was just some sort of sick prank that her friends were pulling on her. During the confessions of the boys, Royce Casey actually said that Jacob and Joseph had said to him that Elyse wouldn't be the only one and that there would be others. It's also known that this murder was planned for around a month. The boys, after this, also bragged to their friends that they had done something horrific like this. And at one point, Joseph even bragged to his own mum. Some of their friends that they bragged to actually did testify against them, stating that they didn't think that they were being serious. There wasn't a trial with a jury for the boys because the boys had just admitted that they were guilty. They straight up said that they were guilty, so they were sentenced to a minimum of 20 years to life. This wasn't the end of Elyse's story though. Elyse's parents decided that they were going to file a lawsuit against the band Slayer. They believed that Slayer's music had directly contributed to their daughter's death. There were two songs in particular that they stated directly influenced and instructed the boys to kill their daughter. These two songs were called Postmortem and Dead Skin Mask. So the case went in front of a judge and the judge threw it out, saying that there was no legal position that could be taken that would make Slayer responsible or even directly influencing what happened to Elyse. But Elyse's parents didn't stop there and they filed another lawsuit. This lawsuit said that Slayer were knowingly distributing harmful material to minors. And again, this lawsuit was thrown out. One of the boys, Jacob DeLashma, actually did an interview with the Washington Post where he said that Slayer weren't to blame for Elyse's death. And he actually pinned the blame on Joseph Fiorella. Jacob had said to the Washington Post that Slayer weren't to blame for Elyse's murder in any way, shape or form. And rightly so, because they had nothing to do with it. In fact, what he said was that Joe Fiorella was obsessed with Elyse and just obsessed with the thought of killing her. So the three boys are still serving time. Royce Casey was denied parole in 2016, but he's up again for parole in 2021. Joseph Fiorella was actually eligible for parole in 2020, last year, but I don't know whether, I don't know what happened with that. There's no information on Jacob DeLashma either, so I can't really give you an update on that. As with all my true crime posts, if you haven't read them, I normally leave an online gravesite link to the victims. So if you want to go and pay your respects to Elyse, leave a message, leave a virtual flower, do whatever. I'll leave it in the description. But that's the story of Elyse. It's a very sad one. It's I have no words for it. I have no words. It was an evil, evil thing. But let me know what story you want me to cover next, and I may do it next week. So I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. I will speak to you soon. Okay, bye.